So today's sequence is going to be from all fours. We're going to start off with some mobility work, just getting really the spine mobilised from an all fours position, so a great little start up for any kind of warm up really. And then we're going to progress it into a fairly classic core exercise, opposite arm and leg, and do some progressions from there. As usual, work at your own level, take on the more challenging progressions. It's not too difficult today, but take on some of the more challenging progressions if you feel able. If not, just concentrate on good form and core engagement. And maybe just to start, just from sitting on your heels, just drop the hands to the floor, slide the hands forward, and just come down into a nice, easy shell stretch. Trying to get the hips down onto your heels, and maybe then just walk your fingers forward. Just feel that bit of a stretch into your upper back. And just pause, take a few breaths there. Feel the hip flexors release, feel the release into the shoulders, and maybe down your spine as well. Look forward between the hands, and then come up onto all fours. And just to take a few moments just to set yourself in all fours. So the hands want to be directly below the shoulders, and the knees directly below the hips, feet flat to the floor, and feet and knees should be hip width apart. I know you can't quite see that from the angle that we've got today, but just working on that kind of setup. And we're just going to start with some free movement. So maybe just doing some little gentle cat and cow, so letting your stomach just drop to the floor as you kind of scoop the chest through, looking forward, and then into a cow position, and then taking it into a cat position by tucking the tailbone under, allowing the movement to spread through your back, rounding your upper back as you push down into the floor, really opening out across the shoulders, head tucks under. It's a nice free movement, nothing too structured, should just feel loose as if you're warming up the back, and then maybe just rock the hips from side to side, just swaying, just feeling a little bit of stretch into the side of the hip, maybe a little bit into the TFL, the tentor fasciae lata, that runs down the side of the hip. Keeping this nice and fluid. And then we're going to bring a little bit of lateral flex in, so looking over your shoulder, down towards your feet on one side, back into the middle, and then on the opposite side. So you should start to feel like working down the sides of the body a bit. And you can even progress this then into a bit of a twist and a reach. So lifting, I'm going to start on the right side, lifting the right hand up, reaching out to the side around about shoulder height, and then reaching back and touching the heel, the sole of the foot, sweeping back round, place that right hand back on the floor, and do the same on the left. And you're trying to reach out to the side, but keeping, this temptation is to kind of lean back to make that reach a little bit easy, but you're trying to keep the hips directly over the knees, and also not swaying from side to side either. Then all the movement comes as a lateral flex into the spine. Keeping that going from side to side. You should feel your obliques starting to work. So you're getting a movement and mobilisation of the spine, but it's also starting to work your abdominal muscles to bring in this in this movement. One more each side. Trying to think about keeping your back nice and long as well, the spine long. Come back into an all fours position. Then we're going to take a little bit of rotation. I'm just going to move around on the mat just so you can see a little bit easier about what I'm doing here. So again, from that all fours position, nice setup, we're going to bring your hand, going right hand first, the right hand just into the back of the neck, and then point the elbow down to the floor where the hand's just been lifted up from. Take a breath in, then on the exhale, take the elbow out to the side, bringing a rotation in to the shoulders, upper back, and exhale as you do that. Take a breath in as the elbow points back down towards the floor, and on the exhale, again, bringing the rotation. We're really trying to get the shoulders round. So it's not about keeping the shoulders round and just taking the elbow out to the side. That's really a shoulder mobilisation. We're really trying to rotate the shoulders, really bring the torso around. So bringing a spine twist in, but again, you're working your obliques and the muscles in your back to bring about that rotation. Couple more. quite strenuous, quite simple, but quite strenuous little movement when you do it. Trying to get the shoulders around, then we're going to repeat on the opposite side. So come back into box position, just reset that nice all fours position. Then bring the left hand to the back of the head, just there for positioning. Elbow points down to where the left hand just been on the floor. Take a breath in, and on the exhale then, bring in that rotation, nice and slow. Breath in as you point back towards the floor, exhale into the rotation. Two more. And then just again, just for a little pause, and just to bring a little bit of length back into the spine, just drop back into that shell stretch, child's pose position. And see if that feels now a little bit easier on the hip flexors and on the spine. And again, walk the fingers forward to really stretch into your upper back. Come back up onto all fours. Now we're going to work up into that classic core exercise, opposite arm and leg. We're going to do this in stages. I always like to start off in pinpoint. But before we do that, just a few little pointers on setup. So we want the back nice and flat. So not in a kind of cow position, and not in a cat position. Yeah, just bring the spine into neutral. Yeah, nice and flat. And just engage your core. So squeeze in your abs, draw it up on the pelvic floor to hold your pelvis in that position. And as we go through this exercise, trying to hold that form. Head and neck are also in a neutral position, just gazing down towards the floor, maybe a little bit in front of your hands. Now we're going to start off with pinpoint. So take a breath in, squeeze. And then we're going to slide the right hand forward, but keeping the fingers in contact with the floor. At the same time, we're going to slide the left foot back. Now the back has stayed in neutral and not really moved. The torso is not really moved. It's just the hand and the foot that's moved. And then bring that back in. Reset, take a breath in, and on the exhale, slide the left hand out and the right foot away. Again, trying to keep the back nice and straight and long. And just alternating from side to side. But as you do this, try to feel that the torso is not moving. And hold that steady. There's slight shifting weight as you transfer from one side to the other, but trying to hold the body steady. And you do that by keeping the abs engaged. Focusing, keeping the movement small, slow and controlled. Now this temptation is to overreach. So we're only sliding the hand forward and the foot back as far as you can naturally come. Don't try and overreach. If you overreach, you drop the shoulders in, the hip goes out, and you're taking the body out of alignment. This is a core stability, so it's all about stabilizing the body, trying to isolate the movement. One more each side. Anytime during this you want to take a break, probably just best just to drop back into that shell stretch position, take a few breaths, and then come back up. Now, as the next progression, we're going to add a bit of a lift. So, coming into that set position, engaging, trying to isolate the movement in a good balanced setup. Take a breath in, come forward into pinpoint, and then when you're in that pinpoint position, trying to isolate that movement, keep everything stable in the trunk, and then just lift the hand and the foot. The hand comes up to shoulder height, the foot comes up to roughly hip height. Bring the hands back down to floor into that pinpoint position, bring them back in, and then change. Now just before you lift, just squeeze your glutes. Squeeze the abs, engage the core. And imagine you've got a glass of wine balanced between your shoulder blades. So if you overreach, that glass of wine is going to topple over. So really trying to isolate the movement. It's a mind-body exercise. It's control more than anything. You can have the toes pointed, as I've done, or you can flex the foot. That can sometimes help with the engagement down the leg and the glute engagement, holding the hips down. So whichever your preference is. You should be really feeling that you're trying to take out any little wobbles. Embrace those, try and squeeze them out. And also try to make sure that you don't overextend. And by that I mean come up too high with the hand, too high with the foot. You'll feel that in the back and it becomes like an extension in the back. It's not necessarily wrong, but just for the purpose of today, just try and maintain everything nice and flat. One more each side. And then again, just take a break just by dropping back into that shell stretch position. Quite a simple exercise, but already generating a little bit of heat in the body, so you know that your core's really working. And maybe when you started that, you've got one or two little wobbles, but as you work through, you found that balance. And this next progression is going to kind of challenge you a little bit with there. So come back onto an all fours position, just adjust your setup, hands hip width, hands shoulder width apart, directly below your shoulders, feet and knees hip width apart. We're going to come back into that opposite hand and leg position. I'm going to start with the right hand and left leg. Bring it up into that position, set position we were before, and now we're going to work just on this side. Take a breath in, engage, and then we're going to bring nose, knee and elbow together. And as you do that, your back is naturally going to round into kind of a cat position, and really rounding up to try and get your nose down onto that junction of your elbow and your knee. And then straighten out back into that extended position. Hold, squeeze, stabilize there. Take a breath in. Exhale, come into that elbow, nose, knee together position. Ooh, slight imbalance, don't worry about that. The little imbalances are there to catch you out, to make you work that a little bit harder, firing up the stabilizers down the body. So if it feels a little bit imbalanced the first couple of times you do it, you start to find a rhythm. The slower you do it, often the harder it is to take out those little imbalances. And then bring the hand down back into box position. Pause, take a breath, reset, and then the same on the opposite side. Left hand, right foot. Come into that extended position, take a breath in. Then on the exhale, bring nose, knee, elbow together. Using the breath. Trying to slow it down. Think about that stability, locking out at either end of the exercise. 2 more. A challenge. And then bring the hands and the feet back down, knees back down. And again, one last time, just drop back into that shell stretch. Take a breath.